mobile filmmaking and workflows. And it's, again, sort of attached a little bit to that festival, but not really. I think this is an amazing tool, and I think we all at this point acknowledge that our phones do some pretty powerful work. We're gonna get into some depths. We're gonna get into the weeds for the next hour about this. I'm gonna get to my remote controls. Come on, no whammy, looking for my MacBook Pro. There it is, okay. And this all came from the fact that I run an event called the Editor's Retreat. In fact, how many of you go to school here at Full Sail? Friend of mine here, Bob Truitt. Have you had Professor Truitt for anything? Bob is a teacher here. I encountered him because I run an event called the Editor's Retreat. And the Editor's Retreat has an amazing part of it is an actual workshop. We have like an editor like Dan Lebenthal who cut 5 of the Marvel films. We had Ann Coates who cut Lawrence of Arabia. And we bring everybody together and we give everybody the same footage prior to the event. And then we all screen what they do. And there's one problem. How many of you have ever left the office early? How many of you have ever got done your work early? None of you. God bless you. I worked to the moment I had to get that little girl and myself onto a plane. And I've worked in the hotel room last night. We just have this tendency, especially in production and post-production, to do too much work, take too much on our plate, be optimistic about our finishing. And the problem was we'd go there and every time people would not cut the film. And I said, I want to create something with the camera in our pocket. And that was the idea that was the beginning of the 15-second film festival. So I'm encouraging you to realize that this is an amazing piece of hardware. And I start off everything with a quick tip. Here's my quick tip before I start. How many of you were not here for the first session this morning? Okay, and this goes out to the 2 of you. The rest of them have seen this. Have you ever shot something with your phone, and when you come back and by the way, I'm gonna do a poll in a minute, but are you Final Cut users? Not really. A little bit, it's okay. When you've got a clip that's rotated the wrong way, you're going to whatever transform controls in your editorials tool. What if I told you there was a better way than that? That's what we're gonna do right now. This is pretty crazy. Watch this. I'm gonna go out here to the Finder. I've got a clip out here. Hey, it's set wrong. I'm going to right-click on the clip. Right here under the word Quick Actions is Rotate Left. And what you should know is this isn't doing anything to the file. It's not re-encoding it. Your software won't have to reprocess it. All it does is say to the metadata, spin it. And the neat part about this specific tool is that whether or not you've brought it into Final Cut's intelligent enough. Do I have a mobile? Let me see if I've got a mobile project here. Miss Abby, shh. Hey you, hey, shh. I'd like you to see that when I go ahead and I bring this in, it's not rotated the correct way. And then I go out here and I do the same thing we did this morning. I say, let us, quick action, rotate it left. It's now showing correct in the Finder. Watch what happens when I get to Final. Oh, it takes a moment to refresh, and now it's set right. And just like that, we're done. Those quick actions are pretty amazing. Let's bring that back up. There we go. Those quick actions are pretty amazing. And the real trick with it is that idea that you can go ahead and rotate left. You should know that this is part of your Mac's extensions. So there are other extensions out there. The one that's there by default is called Trim. For those of you who, to shorten the clip, you used to open up QuickTime and copy and paste, or you can just go right there, choose Trim, pick the in and outs just like you can in Photos, just like you can on your phone. So I'm going to give you a breakdown of this talk. We're going to be doing a bunch of stuff about workflow, recent phones, over format. I'm missing 2 slides here because I'm sloppy, evidently. I've got some gear we're going to talk about, and I got one more workflow we're going to do. So I'm going to start off with here, mobile to the Mac. You know, I didn't ask you guys yet about what tools you have, so let's just take a second. Let's find that out. And for that, I'm going to come here, and if I could I get you to take out your phones and join this Slido deck. Now, whether you're going to school here, you teach here, or anywhere else, I find probably my strongest amount of extra value in a classroom is to be able to do some sort of live surveying. So I'm going to have you guys join that. I need to, let's see if it logs in correctly. Admin login. Authorizing, there we go. And we're doing mobile filmmaking, and we do that. So let's talk about your relationship with your phone. I'm on it right now. I have anxiety when I can't find it. I'm scared how often I'm on my phone. You can have more than one answer here. As little as possible, less a relationship, more of an addiction. Where do you fall into the scale? This is the part where you come clean, everything's anonymous. Everything's anonymous. I definitely have anxiety when I can't find it. I can't remember the last time I left my house and it wasn't in my pocket. I can't remember the last time I was moving around the house and I didn't know where it was. I have definite battery anxiety. Where's my person that said as little as possible? I want to take advice from you, both of you. Really. I hear you. I wake up in the middle of the night. I moderate a fairly large community. I moderate a community of 100,000. I moderate a community of 300,000. And it's only 2 minutes, but I engage with the phone, and that's where all the good things end. I don't with the kids. I put down the phone with the kids. I find really guiltily, every time that they're engaging me and I'm on the phone, I can hear my anger is higher. And that's a bad place to be as a dad. Let's see what's next. What is your favorite camera to work with? Now, this is one for you to write out anything you'd like. I'm real curious to see whether it's Full Sail educators, whether it's students here. I'm just curious to see what your favorite. Jen, what camera do you guys use? Sony FS7. A7i3. I've got a little 5100. Like, my general thing is if I don't need the gear, if I can borrow the gear, if I can rent the gear, not to buy it. Capital expenses. I use my iPhone. Filmic Pro. Where's my Filmic Pro person? Yeah, outstanding. I don't have one, so my phone can. Sony HXR NX5U. Wow. What's an iToy? Oh, the phone, iToy, maybe? Okay. All right. Super crazy useful. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Filmic Pro. Just flat out. It's the best experience phone-wise. No Androids up there. That's good. Do you use your phone for professional work? I've started to use it for occasionally. It sneaks its way in. I try to do it. I try to focus it more on social media aspects. It's in my pocket. For those of you who are too young to know who Robert Rodriguez is, he's a filmmaker who made a film in the 90s for $7,000 called El Mariachi, and that's where he gets the rest of his career. And the thing that makes El Mariachi amazing is that he was editing it in his head while he was shooting because every frame he shot cost him money. So he really went out of his way. We've gotten sloppy. It's taught me again, Jen, to edit in my head to grab my phone. I shot a film with the kids, and it was one long take. It was just me running the camera. I need you to do this. I need you to do this. And I just cut it up, and I was done because I knew what the shots I wanted. That's a really telling slide. And unfortunately, it just tells us about here. It would be nice to have deeper demographics about us here, but that's really useful. What stage are you at your career? Student, is this a side hustle? Is it first couple years, 4+ years? At 7 years, I figure, or teaching. And I know, Mike, for example, you might be that 7+ years and teaching. I think I limited this one just to 1. A lot of teachers here, a lot of people. Wow, 7+ years. Nobody's at a side hustle. Nobody for a side hustle. That's fantastic. Who's my other? You look familiar. I don't know why you look familiar. I think I met you when I was over there. Yeah. That was my joke. It wasn't a clever joke, but it was a joke. What platform are you on? Hoping to see somebody shows BlackBerry. See, sometimes I put stuff up, Jen, just to make myself laugh, right? It's just to entertain myself. Here's my general rule, though, is that if the person teaching you isn't having fun, you're not having fun. Nobody, because it's a dead platform. BlackBerry's a dead platform. I didn't put Symbian up there because I thought somebody might think it was dirty. Somebody got that. That's beautiful. All right. I think that's my last slide. Okay. That really is helpful. I appreciate that, everybody. We're going to dump out of that. I'm going to go ahead here. I'm going to switch back to Keynote. We're controlling it. We go like this. So we're going to be talking a lot about workflow. And the first thing I want to talk about workflow has to do with getting stuff off the phone to your Mac. And what I'm about to say, so your keynote today, Matt, is from Altion, and he's talking to you about asset management. Now, there are a couple items in our field that bore people to tears conceptually. Compression's one of them. I love teaching compression. Love teaching compression. Two is asset management. What was 3? Yeah, asset management's 2. It's like the most boring, unless it's done right. It breaks my heart a little bit that there's not a great asset management tool that's inexpensive for us. And there is from the consumer level, and it's called iPhoto or Photos. What I love about Photos in general is the GPS information off the phone, everything on the phone, all that metadata is accessible to me. My problem with Photos, for me, is I don't get enough ability to search. Let me be real practical, real practical. I am here in Orlando. I'm actually we're in Winter Park, right? You know what would be really great? Show me all the videos I shot in Winter Park, period, because I'm on a client site. Literally, I'm saying, show me everything from my client site. Show me everything on my client site from the last 30 days. We cannot get that out of Photos, sadly. If you're not aware, Photos will do geolocated-based stuff based on your phone. I really want the dream. I'm going to give you my dream that I would go out with a client, shoot some iPhone along with my FS7, and somewhere along the line, a tool would go, hey, you shot this within 15 minutes of shooting that, I'll add the GPS information so that information would all be there. I can see that happening one day. That's low-hanging fruit. Somebody needs to invent that. But this tool has become, for me, my primary, we're going to talk about AirDrop, but I prefer to dump things through Photos because of all the metadata. Even if it's just the last 30 days as useful, the last 30 days of video, the last 30 days of that's favorite. And it begins with a P. Is it Peter? Patrick. Because you're the one who said Filmic Pro. I know the people, I know Chris at Filmic Pro. I'm dying. There's one feature I want, and it's hard. I want, when I'm shooting on the phone, to be able to do, I don't know, a 4-finger tap, a forehead slap, something, and have the phone go marker. So I could come back to Final Cut through Photos or not and say, show me everything that I marked while I was on set, because I was there. It was a great moment. Give me that later. I don't know how, like, the naivete of users is the following sentence. It can't be that hard. Can you imagine a client walks into your office and says, Rob, Jen, we'd like to add this to this video. It can't be that hard. And in your head, you're going, it's going to be hard. Whatever's coming next. Yeah. So I think that there is something neat and not great here. I first started when I used iPhone, when I used Photos. I still call it iPhotos. I started to launch it with the Option key down. If you didn't know this, when you launch Photos, you hold down the Option key, you can create a separate library. All right, that's kind of cool. It's not syncing automatically. It's not terrible. I could AirDrop and then use it and have it for a client library. But at that point, Evan, there's not a big difference for me just using a folder, you know? So, oh, look, we want to hide that. I'm going to say, put this in a focus mode. Yeah, do not disturb. Excellent. Right. I want you to know that if you switch, she doesn't know. You know, you guys know she doesn't know. I know, she's going to have a blast. I did it with my older one. So I want you to know that when you switch libraries, you can go into the preferences and you can actually say, be the new main library. And you don't want to do that because then it's going to start to sync everything off of iCloud to it. I wish there was something in between the two. The second way that, how many of you use Photos? Everybody's hand goes up. Is there anybody not using Photos? Everybody going, I hate Photos. What are you using? Android, but you didn't answer the Android question, so yeah.
I did.
Oh, you did.
Android as well.
Android. Yeah, I will tell you, hold on. ShareDrop.net, and there's one more that gives you AirDrop capabilities on your Mac. You go to the browser on the phone, you say ShareDrop.net. There's a second one, I can't remember the name of it. And you go to the same browser window, and now it's like AirDrop, and you can get stuff off your Android phone to your Mac effortlessly, no plugs needed. It works actually between any two computers, and there's another one out there just like ShareDrop, ShareDrop.net. Right there, Philip, if nothing else I did is good, that one's worth its weight, buddy. Okay? There's AirDrop. AirDrop requires Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. The last city we were in the color class, AirDropped my entire color correction library so everybody could actually have my footage. We all have to be on the same network for it to work well. Anybody got the iPhone 13 or 14? I'd like both of you to know that if you were to shoot ProRes, ProRes goes awful slow off that lightning cable. AirDrop is the way to do it. AirDrop is the fastest way, with one caveat: you got to have a fast network, not a fast pipe to the internet. You could be on the lousiest pipe to the internet, but if your router is really fast, you can get stuff off your phone to your Mac as fast as, let's call it USB 3 speeds, decent speeds. My favorite trick is, let's do both of these tricks, because they're really good. Both of these tricks are great. And plus, I get to check my AirDrop and turn off if it's not set to contacts only, because I don't want you people sending me anything. So if you've never seen this before on your Mac, up at the top here, there's a Go window. Jeff, I've seen the Go window 1,000 times. Take a look at all the items that are there. Now, I use Command-Shift-A for applications all the time. I struggle with Command-Shift-D because in my brain it's going to duplicate stuff, and I'm scared to hell I'm going to duplicate. But AirDrop is Shift-Command, where is it there? There it is, Receive. Shift-Command-Receive. One of the things that I do with keyboard commands is I never give a keyboard command without a language mnemonic for you to hang on with it. So all of these are Shift-Command, except for downloads, but it's Shift-Command-Receive. So I'm going to hit Shift-Command-Receive. There's AirDrop. No, I don't want everybody to be able to get to me. Thank you, no. Contacts only. That's a lot safer. With it set to everybody, anybody could just drop something to me. Now this becomes a very fast way to work. Hey, I want to show you that again, Command-Shift-R, right there. My AirDrop's on the left. If it's not on yours, Command, comma, we talked about preferences on your Mac. It's in the sidebar. You can turn on AirDrop. You can add any of these to the sidebar if it's not on your system. We did that. Yep, okay. Okay, so once you get it off your phone, the question is, you know the one I didn't mention? The one I didn't mention is inside of Final Cut, because I hate it. This is being recorded, so my friend Bill Davis, I hate this. I hate this right here. I hate this for the same reason you hate this. It takes too long. It really does. See, it's working great here, Jeff. What's the problem? There you go. Now, part of the problem might be I've got like 50,000 photos on my Mac. Well said, Abby. But now that you've got that file, we've got to talk about the idea whether you're linking it. Oh, I didn't want to go do that. Whether you're linking it or whether it's in a shared library. Sorry, let's try that again. Linking it or in the package. All right, they can't really see this. How many of you use Final Cut less than 50% of the time? Okay, I don't care. I have no judgments on it. One of the biggest problems I see with people outside of Final Cut is they bring in media and it's all over their system. All over their system. Sometimes in the desktop, their download folder. By default, Final Cut's rule is when you bring in some media, I want you to make a separate copy inside of a controlled library. You know how easy it is to back up a Final Cut project? You grab the library, you're done. Maybe you should clean up the library, maybe you should throw out the renders that are in that library, but the whole beautiful part is it does that for you. It depends on who you are. If you're a novice user, this is a beautiful thing. This is at least 2 copies. I'd ideally like you to have 3 copies. 3 copies, 2 locations, 1 live. Think about that. If I'm working in Photos, I've got stuff on iCloud, I've got stuff in Photos locally on my machine, I have stuff in the Final Cut library. I have achieved, for a novice, good data practices. That's a beautiful thing. I happen to be a very conscious, serious data person. I don't want it to make those extra copies. And inside of Final Cut, there's a switch up right at the top. See where it says Files and Leave Files in Place? You're hearing me use a word there that I key into, the word optional. It's an optional way to do something. If yours is set, the default, copy the file location, and you go to drag something in, if you hold down the Option key, it leaves it alone. It just leaves it as a link. If you have it set to copy file, if you have it set to leave files and you wanted to make a copy, you go, I may never get this again. You hold down the Option key, and it will make a full copy inside of that folder for you automatically. So it's an amazing switch. It's good data practice. Hey, Mike, teaching Final Cut becomes a very important thing because you get to go over with your students the concept of good data practices, especially when we talk about mobile workflows where we get a little bit sloppier. And I'd like everybody to know, after the fact, you can throw a switch and say, could you make sure you've copied everything, or could you make sure you've moved everything out of the library because I don't want it to clutter? It's under the File menu for, it's called a Consolidate. In fact, I'll show it to you, just because some of you might not know that this exists. I'm going to go ahead here in Final Cut, and right at the top here on the library, and that's really the trick, is you've got to choose the actual library, File menu, Consolidate Media Library, delete generated files like proxies, like renders. And Jen's favorite one, go ahead and copy the motion, consolidate the motion content so it's not in 5 different places. Hey you, I know you're having a good time, but I'd like you not. Just keep it a little quiet. All right, I'm going to talk about phones now. In my hand, I'm using an iPhone 12 Pro. I'm very, very happy with this phone. This phone's big introduction was high dynamic range. This is a great thing, this is a terrible thing. Apple, out of the gate, pushes the envelope all the time. And the way they push the envelope here, pardon me a second, we started at what time? 1:30 something, okay. I need to step up a little bit. HDR, high dynamic range, has this problem, that problem there. Same shot, one is being displayed incorrectly. Which one? Evan, I'm not really asking you, it's the top one, we all know, right. I'd like you to hear, though, it depends on how you're going to view it. You're viewing it on a phone or a display that's HDR, everything pretty much looks okay. It's when you're on a non-HDR system that everything looks blown out, Mike, like it does up top. So what I'd like you to hear, there's an effect called HDR tools, and you can put it on any shot, and it'll pull everything down. It does a very good job of tone mapping. And then if you actually want to work HDR, you have to tell the library, I want to be an HDR library. And then Final Cut works everything HDR and goes up to HDR to YouTube or anywhere else. You've got to deal with some of the headaches around it in SDR workflows. So that's the iPhone 12. In the iPhone, and there he is, you want HLG. Why this isn't the default is beyond me. It should be. When you go and you add that effect, it should be that HLG to Rec 709. Number 2. You can turn this off on the phone. If this really irritates you because none of your clients, and you don't want to have to deal with the extra file handling, you can turn it off the phone. I wouldn't, but you could. I wanted to make sure you understood how. Now, the iPhone 13 did something really interesting. It gave us 2 features. First is called ProRes. Anybody know what ProRes is? Some hands will go up, some hands won't. Look, it's just a less compressed version of the media. It's actually a professional resolution. I only would use this switch, seriously, if I was doing heavy grading or working with green screens where I need as much of the data as possible. Otherwise, the files are absurdly large, minimum of 1 gigabyte a minute, minimum, okay? And suddenly you're talking about you got to offload 3 hours of footage and it's 180 gigabytes off your phone. But what I'd like to show you is what's called cinematic mode, because cinematic mode is pretty breathtaking. It's pretty breathtaking cinematic mode. What makes it magical is something that we're not going to see in professional cameras for a couple years, although it's beginning to happen. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to grab this clip of her. Let's open this up. And click right on it and say Show Cinematic Editor. And what you're seeing here, when I click on this dot, is Final Cut knows cinematic depth of field. I can play with the depth of field of this shot after the fact. I'm not seeing that terribly well. I'm not going to stress too much about not seeing it well. Let's try that again, one more time. I'm just going to move on from that. Come on. You're just not moving your slider at all. One more chance, screens. One more chance. Oh, yeah, that's not good. That's not good. My system is not. My system is literally dead. I mean, it's so dead, I'm not getting a caps lock key. All right, what are we doing? We're going to do a forced reboot, or are we going to give it a minute and be patient? You tell me. Man, you people are brutal. Okay, force reboot it is. Hey, ProRes is the professional resolution. We talked about the iPhone 14's biggest advantage is that it's got a cinematic mode. It's doing an overshoot with optic stabilization like you were on a gimbal. And that's a really powerful thing if you're taking the phone out of your pocket. Each one of these is kind of my decision point. If you want better, bar none, if you're below the iPhone 12, you need a new phone. If you have the iPhone 12, you have to ask yourself, do you need cinematic mode? I could really use cinematic mode. I like ProRes, but I need cinematic mode. Do I need stabilization? Depends on what gear you have. Depends on how much gear you want to have. If you're using your phone as your primary item, I want to give you a warning, it shoots over format. What do I mean by over format? It's shooting greater than 4K, or it's shooting its 4K, and it's dumbing it down to 2K. This is what we do when we work over format. Now, I'm a big fan of working over. Working over format is basically this idea that in Final Cut Pro, you always work one resolution below your footage. And it gives you the freedom to reframe. You know, old school filmmaker, the bloopers were always the same thing. The boom would drop into the picture. Every single blooper, every single film before, like, right? And they put that intentionally in there. This goes away the moment you start working over format. Why? Because all you would have had to do is move the picture up a little, because you have the extra resolution. Generally speaking, if I'm working at the same resolution as my footage, I can go about 20% before it starts to really look soft. But if I'm working at, my source footage is 4K and I'm working at 2.7K or high def, I can punch in 400% and everything's sharp as can be. So I'm a big believer in working over format with this idea that that's part of what the iPhone's stabilization is doing. Everybody good? Questions? Talk about some gear. I said to Rob a little bit earlier, and I think you heard it real clearly, and I saw you nod for it, I'm not buying it if I can borrow it. I borrowed this stuff from Abba. I want to give you an idea of just some things that should be part of your kit no matter what. And the very first item that ought to be on your kit is some level of tripod. So this little bad boy here, these are like 20 bucks. One of these, you know, you can for like less than 60 to 100 bucks have a tripod. You can drop it on a table, whether it's selfies or not. You can close this up, you can carry with it. It gives you more stability, whether or not you have cinematic mode. When you do need that stability, hold it closer to your body. Let's step up from there. The big step up from there after the mount is something like this. This is the DJI gimbal. I don't have the phone in there, so I'm not going to turn it on. It's got a little magnetic clamp, but it does the amazing thing. It gives me like a Steadicam-like apparatus. This is, I think my next slide has its price. I'm skipping that one. $159. If this is your primary camera, you need a gimbal. By the way, I'm going to give you at the end my URL. You can get my entire slide deck. My deck will absolutely has the links in here for this stuff. They're not referrer links, unfortunately. The competitor, by the way, to this, the competitor Zhiyun, the Smooth 5, is about the same price. Between the two, I kind of like the Zhiyun a little bit better, but DJI clearly innovates into the space better than anybody else. Any questions on that? Number two, can we all agree that the microphone on this is better than other than phones, that Final Cut's got a really nice noise reduction they've added, but any media professionals say it's garbage. I want sound as close as I can to the actual sound emission. And for that, the cheapest way I'd like you to come in, because this is garbage, but you can for $9 get an adapter for it. It's an easy sell for me, because it plugs into the lightning connector. But I'd really like you to have a little bit more. I'd like you to have, by the way, on the cheapest of cheap fronts, for like $9, they on Amazon have a lavalier microphone, and you can have your actors stick their phone into their back pocket, record on their, with the warning, you've got to do dual system audio. Final Cut does it well, but man, it's so many extra files and so much of a pain. It is just way better for you to get a wireless or a shotgun. And I'm a wireless shotgun fan. You clearly have a sound pedigree. Do you have a difference between, do you prefer lavs versus shotguns? Yeah. I don't trust wireless. I respect that. Mike, do you have a preference? He's using all of them. My favorite thing about the fact that sound is critical, just to give you an idea, a Shockbucks, a lot, Rose Smart Lav's about 50. This is my favorite toy at the moment. This can be pinned on as a lav, or you can plug in a lav to it. And suddenly you go out for an interview, and you have in the palm of your hand with an inexpensive lav or not, you're recording directly to as a device. You're keeping all your audio together. Rode has a nice one, but this one is like look at this. This gimbal, and suddenly the only thing I don't have is great lights. So I'm a huge, huge fan of this idea of adding some microphone. And as long as I'm mentioning that, dual system sync like the H1N is nice, but it's extra work, and anything we can do to make the work smarter is better. Along those lines, we kind of talked about this idea that the phone's heavy use is as a shooting, the first place it always makes its entry is in the idea of being for social media. So what you should be aware of is Smart Conform. How many people know about Smart Conform in the Mac? Jacob, you do. I didn't catch your name. Steven? You're not Steven as well. Rob. Let me speak to the rest of you. Here's the basic pain in the butt. You finish the work, it's widescreen, because we don't shoot square or vertical video, right? That's like a heresy, okay? Unless it's a basketball team you're shooting, then suddenly vertical video is like the right choice. Maybe you're in Manhattan, suddenly vertical video becomes the right choice. I believe as a storyteller, as long as it's not Quibi. Those of you who don't know, it was like $1 billion spend to learn that people weren't, during the pandemic, gonna look at everything vertically. The big thing I'd like to tell you is technology called Smart Conform. You duplicate the project. You okay? You duplicate, go potty, go. Duplicate the project, and then you change it to square format, Smart Conform. And Final Cut will go through all your footage, analyze for faces, analyze for the way the shots are, and will reposition them for you. You can go in and do that yourself by selecting a shot and just choosing Smart Conform. And when you do so, you just want to park and change every shot. So I want to give you one killer one. If you weren't here in my color correction class, right? I believe in a tip, but you get a tip, you get a tip, you get a tip. I'm going to give you guys my favorite tip that people don't know about. Am I going to be dangerous? No, I'm not going to open up that project. Here you go. Does everybody see here? I've got the inspector open because, let's hide that. We're going to end up playing with the transform. What happens when I do command left arrow? Can you guys see what's going on? It's selecting the shot I'm on. So if I went, I'm going to open it up, and this may be a mistake. As I go command right arrow, and I decide Smart Conform didn't do a great job, I can get to these tools faster because I'm hitting, because you know what the mistake you make is, right? You go to the next shot and you forget to select it, and then you're mucking with the shot before it or two shots before it, and you curse a little bit and you get frustrated. Command left and right arrow. Was that one useful? Did you know about it before today? Okay, outstanding. Yeah, it's pretty killer. Keeping all that, keeping track of all that social stuff, ratios, I'm skipping that. Sprout Social does a great job of keeping all the numbers, all the specs of all the social media in one place conveniently for you. I'm just super happy with that. I want to just mention mobile editorial. I think I've already told you I'm not a fan. I love my phone. Clearly, I have anxiety. I have edited on my phone, little stuff. I've opened up iMovie mostly to help people who use iMovie because I don't use it. And you can share it. You go to your movie and you say, instead of sharing the video, share the project. You save it to the file, Final Cut. I think LumaFusion's a better tool for it. In fact, because I've got about, right? Really, I should begin to one more. I'm going to try 2 items here. So I'm going up here. I'm going to say, share. Oh, can you screen mirror to my MacBook Pro? Come on, no whammy. You're going to give me a whammy, aren't you? Found out about this. This is phenomenal. Okay, you are looking at my phone. This is not an Apple presentation where like they've got nothing on it. Here's the sign of somebody who has a phone problem. Anybody want to look at my, it's taking, how do I have on the phone? 836 apps on my phone. I have a problem. I'm having a problem. Okay, so I wanted to do 2. I wanted to show you LumaFusion, okay? This, if I'm going to edit on the phone, I would edit on an iPad, but this would be the tool I use right now. It is a track-based editor. It has color correction tools. It has different layouts based on your need. It's like a little $30 tool. It can generate an XML that can spit out to Final Cut Pro. If I'm going to travel with just an iPad Pro and my phone, this is a very great way for me to do quick slugging together. My favorite, but really nice. The second tool I wanted to mention is Filmic Pro. Filmic Pro is like, listen, I don't mean to say that you're not serious using your phone serious, but like the money you spend here is like the best money you'll ever spend. So here's Filmic Pro, and I've got mine tweaked out pretty well here. I thought I had it tweaked out well. Hey, it's you guys. Wave at yourselves. Hold on, tap here. Histogram, that's kind of nice. Tap there. Histogram, that's scopes. That's scopes. At the bottom, that's showing me actual video scopes. I'd want something better. You can set focus. You can set all sorts of really crazy stuff. I'd like you to see some of the choices here include setting whether or not it's 4K, setting whether or not it could shoot to ProRes. This is a 12, so it won't. But you can choose what sort of quality, whether it's 10. It has things including the ability to talk, to the Xeon, including the ability that under hardware here, come on, to have clean HDMI out, because you can plug your phone into something and record, because I'll launch. Double Take lets me shoot two things shooting out of both cameras, and I can choose which ones. I've used it a little bit. I'm not the, I tend to just, there was one more thing here. Filmic Pro, no, I think that's, I think it's probably for me the best, and then for those of you who might use some other third-party, in fact, it's not just limited to them, I'd like you to see that you can do this. You can upload directly to Frame if you wanted to from here, which is a great mobile workflow. But, you know, so I just think that's absolutely the coolest piece of the puzzle here. Let me open this one up here, there. So that's the big thing I wanted to cover about mobile video. Here is, no, there we go. My slide. I'm Jeff Greenberg, Jeff J. Greenberg Consulting. There's the eval slide again. I'm going to hang out for a couple minutes as we switch presenters, just in case you have any questions. I'm going to put up my can contact me, but you know that at you all the time at this room. There's my bit.ly code. When you sign up, I'll probably publish this. I'm going to go to a hotel. I'm going to export the PDF, publish the PDF in about, figure in 5 hours. The color presentation's up. I can teach your people. I can work with you. And if you haven't checked it out, I'm hoping you guys know today, you'll check out Alteon. I think you'll check out something called Audio Design Desk. But the tool that I'm most focused on right now, inside of the Apple ecosystem, is a tool called Color Lab AI. And I'll add information. I'm going to make sure by the end of the week, they have a discount for when I'm speaking.